70 pounds in a backpack, 120 pounds on top of a sled, 20-pound ankle weights, 1 mile of hell. Train the barbarian. Test your barbarian. Uncage, you motherfucking barbarian!
I'm glad the barbarians had wrist wraps, carrying kettlebells for long distances.
All right, it is Saturday, July 6th. It's your boy, Gen X Power, Angry Marine. Am I angry? Do I look angry to you? Not really angry. Just not. I'm actually pretty happy. Man, I got a good one this morning. I got a really heartfelt response to a comment that I left on a good friend's video. Content creator Cephas, an outstanding powerlifter. There'll be a link below so you can check his video out. He did a video basically about, if I could sum it up in one sentence, it would be the postpartum depression that high-level athletes tend to suffer after a competition. Why does it happen? What does it mean? And I left a response trying to be as honest as possible about some of the things that I go through. And he, in turn, made a response video. And you kind of broke down my comment and what I said and what it meant to him. And it resonated with him, according to what he said. And he reached out to me personally, and we've actually been talking a little bit. And I've known him for a long time. Cephas is an amazing lifter. I want to say about 3 years ago, him and I started, excuse me, a little stuffed up. Him and I started corresponding. And at the time, he was a really outstanding squatter, but for the most part, he was just we'll say a gym bro, yeah, which is how I got my start. And he was already an amazing squatter, natural. I think he was doing like 500 pounds. And his training videos were a lot of fun. And watching him, I thought, man, this guy, I bet you he would do really well competing. Now, I'm not going to say he started competing because of something I did, but I would like to think that I had a little bit of influence on his decision to do so, because I think I messaged him several times saying, man, I really wish you would compete. Like I think you would do outstanding on the platform. And he did compete, and his first competition, which he didn't think he did that well, he had like a mid 1400s total, and I thought to myself, you know what? God, I trained for 5 years before I broke 1,400 pounds, and this guy does it on his opening meet. And man, there's another one, Baby Giant Barbell, a similar story. He entered a competition. All these guys are just opening up with these elite level totals. It took me 5 years to do that, and I've watched him progress over the last 3 years, and he's gone from a good lifter to an elite lifter, like elite. When I say, we don't throw around the term elite. There's categories. When you lift, they categorize your total, and usually most people that start competing are usually generally around a class 1 or a class 2 total. And it used to be like a class 2 total was a total that was competitive. Might not win you any medals, but you were competitive. You would do well in any meet. And you subsequently needed a class 2 total in order to qualify to compete at nationals. So give you an idea where you needed to be. Above that was considered a master total. So if your total was a certain number, it was considered a master total. And then above that was elite. So if all your lifts combined totaled elite level, or each lift individually could be elite. So say you could have a deadlift for your weight class could be considered an elite deadlift based on the number, and maybe your bench and your squat aren't there yet. Once all three are there and you have that elite total, now you're like, you are competitive at any competition you go to, including nationals and including worlds. I think you need a master total to qualify to compete at nationals and worlds currently for most federations. Now, above elite, there's the coveted international elite. That means your numbers are so high, you get a title of international elite, and that's something that can't be taken away from you. Once you earn that for life. And right now, he's probably, I think if he's not international elite across the board, he's elite for sure. I'm international elite across the board with the exception of my bench. My total's international elite. My squat and my deadlift definitely are. I think my bench is a few pounds shy. I think to be international elite at my current weight class, I think I gotta have like a 410-pound bench, and the best I've had in competition is like 395. So I got a little bit to go before I'm international elite across the board. But regardless, we're both elite and above lifters. And I was over the last 3 years, I was always just slightly above him. So I would have these friendly competitions with him and push him. But in the back of my head, I was like, yeah, but at least I lift a little bit more. At first, it was at least I lift a lot more, and then it was like at least I lift a little bit more. And we would push each other because I wanted to maintain, I wanted to keep that. Well, he started nipping at me, that second year in. And I'm like, oh man, I got to work harder. And then I started watching him pass me, and I was super happy that he finally, beat me. But at the same time, I was also a little bit sad because, I'm putting everything I can into it, and he's starting to pull away a little. I couldn't be prouder. That's exactly what I wanted to happen. And now he's just pulling away. It's that drag strip where you finally see the car pull and they hit that gear and just keep going, and you're giving it everything you got, and that his supercharger, does that Need for Speed thing and just takes off, and you're like, oh, that's kind of where I'm at now. I'm just watching him pull away, and I'm, busting my ass trying to keep up with him. And I tell you what, it was like this last competition, I couldn't be happier for him. Like, I was so thrilled, but I was also super sad because I had the stark realization that, like, you know what, dude, you're going to be 50 this year, and this is what you've got, and maybe you've had your chance, you've had your run, and he's still got a lot to give. So, he's just going to keep going, and you'll maybe trickle along, and I'm still working, man. I'm still trying to keep that gap small, but it's getting harder and harder. And I've really enjoyed over the last 3 years the little friendly competition that we've had between each other. But I said in the comment that I left him, I said, it made me really sad, and I still had those feelings of jealousy and resentment that are there. You see these young guys, and for a long time, you kind of always I've always, was able to rest on the knowledge that, like, they're doing really good, man, but I'm still stronger. Now, I might not vocalize that. That's not something I would say on the internet. I certainly would never say in a comment, but in the back of my head, I was like, yeah, I still got him, though. And now I'm like, damn. There they go. Here I am, tink. Man, I'm still working my butt off. I'm still trying to keep up, but maybe I had my shot, and that was the sentiment of the video. And one of the other things specifically that happens is when we compete, when I compete specifically, and I guess it is common, and high level athletes will work for a goal. We'll put 6, 8, 12, 13 weeks of blood, sweat, and tears and everything we've got. Long nights and missing out on family things so we could train. Missing out on trips, missing out on functions so we could train because we're preparing for a competition. And we go into it, and on competition day, we give it everything we got. And it's like, you're peaking at that point. And you're also to the point where your body's wrecked and you're ready for it to be over, but you busted your ass, and here's game day, and you get your numbers, good, bad, or indifferent. Generally speaking, we do pretty well because we're both high-level athletes when it comes to the sport of powerlifting. And then when it's over and you get your medals, and standing there, for me, I'm super happy. I had a great time. Everybody's clapping. But then as the crowd disperses, you go home, and very shortly afterwards, nobody's saying much, nobody's talking about you. You just, for all the effort that you put into it, it's easy to get this illusion that a lot more people care than they actually do. And of course, I have my followers, you guys on YouTube and Instagram and Facebook, and you guys are always super supportive. But for as high a level of an athlete as I am in the rankings, I guess in the back of my mind, I have this expectation that I'm going to have a lot more fanfare with my achievements than I actually receive. And then at that point, it's kind of like, well, nobody really cares about masters lifters. You're an old lifter. No one gives a crap, The other power lifters might care, but it's not like ESPN's going to ever call you and want to interview you, or no one's ever going to want to write an article about you. And I feel like my achievements are worth that, or worthy of it. And yet, it's silence, and depression will set in, and I did all that work, and now it's over, and now what? And that's kind of what the sentiment of the video we were discussing, and the comment that I left at what we go through as athletes, because it's very common. You build yourself up to the event happens, and then it's like, now what? And it's a very serious thing. It's almost like it's very similar to postpartum depression that women suffer after childbirth. Now, I wouldn't want to compare, getting high achievements at a powerlifting meet to what women go through specifically, because my wife went through postpartum depression, and it's a very serious issue, and it can be very, very detrimental to the mother and the child, and it's sometimes takes the whole family to get involved with that. But the arc of it is very similar. It's the only thing I can think of to really compare it to, because it's like, for 9 months you carried this child and everything that was involved and up to that point, and then once the baby's born, it's kind of like you're left empty. A part of you is gone, and that's it's easy to make that comparison because that's how it feels. It's serious. And if you're like, a lot of lifters, we tend to not be all that right in the head. A lot of us came from abusive situations growing up, or we had some kind of trauma, and we use the weights to deal with that. And, so if you're not surrounded by good people, you don't have good support, it can be really easy to fall into a hole. And that's part of it. That's part of the thing. That's part of us as a community, being there for each other. I kind of thought about talking about the community that comes with the sport, the strength sports lifting community, the real one. When you throw your hat in a ring and you join a federation, whether it's strongman, powerlifting, Olympic lifting, pick a barbell sport. There's a community that comes with it, and there's a lot of overlap in between the different communities, and there's a lot of us that participate in different sports, and we all tend to know each other, and you see each other at competitions across the country. I mean, I went all the way over to Florida, and I was recognizing people from, they travel all over the United States to come, especially coming to Vegas, because Vegas hosts a lot of these competitions, and people will come from all over the world to Vegas. So it's interesting that we tend to be like a little hub here. And I've had the luxury of getting to meet people, and I've taken for granted seeing the same faces. But then when I go out into the country to different parts, I see the same people, and it's amazing. It's amazing, like it's like a mecca here. It's the center. The UFC's based here. I mean, you just see all these people everywhere you go, and it's great. You'll find if you were to create a small content, YouTube channel, and say it's lifting. You lift in your garage, you go to a gym, and you're an athlete, and maybe you're a budding power lifter or whatever, pick a sport. Maybe you just train and you have ambitions towards something like that in the future. What tends to happen is YouTube kind of puts you in a box with other small content creators, lifters, and it doesn't take long for one of them to, because I'm always seeing new channels, new lifters, and I'll reach out and be like, hey, you're awesome. That's really kick ass. And the algorithm kind of ties us together, and sooner or later you find that we're all kind of talking to the same people, and it's like a little community. And in that community, there's some bad apples, some toxic people. And it's really, really easy to just get put in this box and get sucked into this drama. What they do is they like to pick lifts that they're really good at, and they challenge other people to do these lifts, and then they call other people out that aren't as good as them, and really quickly make it like this little toxic competition, and then then they'll start critiquing your videos. You're not doing it right, and then you start getting all these comments from people you've never. Well, who's this guy? And it's ugly, and it can get you really down, and you feel like you're trapped in this ugly little corner of the internet where everybody's just talking crap about each other. And I got sucked into that, and now I'm pulling away from it. It's been 6 months since I've engaged in any of that stuff, and I found out yesterday that one of the guys is still, after 6 months of not mentioning this person or talking to him or anything, I found out they're still bringing me up. This guy's got screenshots of comments that I've made like over a year ago, specifically about the Larson press. Now, I don't know if you've ever seen a Larson press, but it's a bench press where you kind of dangle your feet off the edge of the bench, and it takes your lower body out of the lift, so it's strictly upper body when you're pressing, making the lift much harder, and you get a lot more gains from it because all that's you're now taking your leg drive and your stability out of it, so it's very, very effective for the chest. And I always thought it was interesting that this small lifting community was very monkey see, monkey do. When one person would start doing something, everyone would start doing it. And I'd made the comment that I don't like the Larson press because it looks retarded. I think that's the exact words I used. And I did. I thought it looked stupid. Like these guys look like they're paraplegics that are benching, and their feet are just stuck off, and it just all looks stupid. I stand by that. I think it's a stupid looking lift. Does that mean you shouldn't do it and it's not effective? No, that's where you lose the context because they just show that part. The context was it's an awesome lift, and I think, yeah, you probably will get a lot of benefit from it, but I don't like it because I think it just looks dumb. And I just got kind of sick of seeing everybody with their feet dangling off like they just had a stroke, And to me, that's just something I think is funny, and I stand by that. Well, I guess they're using comments that I made like that because I'm very sarcastic. I joke around a lot, and this guy's got like screenshots of old comments, and he's using it to kind of smear my name and make me look bad. And there was a few lifters that were corresponding with me regularly, and I noticed they stopped talking to me, and I was wondering, like, I wonder what that's about. And I found out like one of them's now like, well, I only talk with people that are not cheating and are natural now. And I'm like, oh, okay. And it's interesting because I was never competing with them to begin with, and I don't care of what they think about me personally, and I'm moving on. I've moved on. And it's like they're still stuck squabbling with each other. And, it's like, you ever like leave an old neighborhood, you move away because it's bad, maybe you were hooked on drugs or alcohol, or maybe it was a bad crowd and you were getting in trouble. But then after a year, you kind of drive by just to check the neighborhood out, just to see what, if it looks the same, and you find out that the same people are sitting on their porches and doing the same stuff. And you're like, okay, and you keep going. That kind of did one of those. I peeked in just to see how everybody's doing from time to time, and I'm like, ooh, it's gotten bad. It's even worse. But the fact that they're still bringing my name up, even though I haven't engaged or involved myself in any way in months, it's endearing. I love it. But one thing that did bother me a little bit about it is when I found out that one person said that he doesn't associate with me anymore because he doesn't want to, he's not competing with cheaters or whatever. And it's like, I was never competing with you to begin with. I'm assuming he's talking about my use of PEDs or steroids, whatever. I would never pick or choose my friends based on stuff that they do that doesn't affect me personally. You know what I mean? Like, I don't judge people. So come as you are. I don't care what you do or what you don't do. We can still be friends. I don't know. I don't know what to say about that. It's like, if that's the case, if that's really your stance, then we were never friends to begin with, honestly. And that's cool. It's very one-sided. You know what I mean? I still can't believe they're bringing me up after all these years. And the reason I'm even talking about that is because if you are a small content creator and you are serious about, trying to make this YouTube thing work, Cephas and I were kind of starting to pull away and separate from that. And the way YouTube works is who you engage with, who you talk to regularly, is who you're kind of stuck to. It's like if you got somebody that's really super negative and drama channel and is always calling people out and starting stuff with other people, like, if you interact, even if it's to comment negatively, you are now attached to that, and that can drag you down. It can become a real grind because I was going through this thing where I was about to give up on YouTube completely because it was depressing. It's like every day I had to get on and read these crappy comments. And even though a lot of them were funny and it was how I was getting my content, responding to them and stuff like that, it was starting to get to me that it was way, way, way more negative than it was positive. And I just was like, what am I doing this for? But now that I've, ignored them and just focused on what I'm trying to accomplish, I've noticed that the joy has come back, and slowly but surely all of them have dropped out of my feed and out of my notifications, and I don't get notifications for their videos, and I don't see comments from them on my page. And I've got a whole bunch of new subscribers, and we're moving in a direction that's fun. It's fun, it's engaging, and it's brought the excitement back, and I love it. Man, I'm so glad I made that first rant about that Warhammer video, because that really changed the direction of my channel, and it introduced me to an entirely new demographic that I didn't even know existed. Nerds with muscles. My people. I think that's who I'm talking to this morning. Now, I certainly recommend everybody compete for fun. If you're into the lifting and you do deadlift, bench, and squat, I highly recommend. I mean, even if you can do deadlift and bench only, but that's that aside. If you're into that and you lift at a reasonably high level, if you're kind of strong or you have the potential to be strong, and you're not there yet, but you think that's a goal of yours, I suggest anybody compete. And that's as simple as going online. Like for my federation, you literally type in USPA powerlifting in the search, and it'll come up with the website. You go on there and become a member, and it'll run you through a registration form, and you fill it out, and you pay, I think it's like $80 for a year. It's gotten a little pricey. And then it has a event calendar, and you can find your state or local area, and you find a meet, and you enter it, and then you go compete. I can't suggest that high enough. That changed my life. And a lot of people, they're afraid. They think that, well, I'm not that strong yet. I'm not going to do that well. And I'm going to tell you right now, it's like nobody cares. You're going to have a blast. Everybody's going to love you. They're going to find out you're a new lifter. They're going to bring you in the fold, and you'll discover the community that Savist and I are talking about. It's wonderful. And they'll get you dialed in real quick, too. And that's kind of, in a very short way, what happened to me. And I think similar to what happened to him. He found a coach, he found a gym, he's got a community, he's dialed in, he's starting to get well known. He's an elite level lifter. For me, I've been reasonably well known, especially in the IPL. I've been doing this a long time, and they're based here in Vegas, so I got to meet everybody at the top, and I'm pretty high in the rankings myself, so I've made a little bit of a name for myself, and it's really awesome. But some of the things that come with it, like if you're just competing for fun, you'll train for 8 to 12 weeks and get ready for a meet, and you'll go compete, and you'll find that if you get hooked on it and you take it seriously, it's going to take a large chunk of your time and dedication, because you got to really hone yourself in, and you can't really be missing training. And depending on how serious you take it, there are people that lift just for fun. They just like the community, they just like to show up, they like to do their thing, they like to hang out, and that's awesome. Those people have a blast, and have a blast with them. As you get more and more serious, you'll find it really is a dedication. It will change your lifestyle, and you'll soon find that a lot of what you're doing is revolving around these competition cycles. More and more it sucks you in the more serious you get about it, and it almost becomes a second job. It'll take you away from your family. It'll cut into like things you like to do otherwise. And but we love doing it, so it is something that we're willing to dedicate ourselves to. In the process, you have to love the process. And a lot of us are gym nuts anyways, so it works. The better you get, the harder it gets, the closer to your genetic potential you get. You start getting close to what you can do naturally, and to eke out another 5 or 10 pounds can take months. Those newbie gains are long gone. You first show up at a gym and you got 6 months of you just moving whatever around, and you're going to gain. Then you'll hit a plateau, and after that you have to start getting creative. Well, when you start getting up there in age, and you've been doing it as long as I have, like I'm already at, everything's at my genetic potential, and it takes a lot of strategy and a lot of blood, sweat, and tears just to put another 5 pounds on my bench. And we're doing that with 3 lifts, and I'm giving it everything I got. And, it's to the point where, the kids don't like it when dad trains and I'm not around enough and I'm cutting into my family time and, building up to the meet, you get more and more focused and you're giving it everything you got, and each workout is grueling. I mean, it's a grind. You have to follow the program if you really want to PR and break those records. And then, a couple of weeks out before the meet, you're at a point where you want to quit because it's just too much work. Every workout seems daunting. You look at your numbers for the day and you're like, oh, I got to hit that. Man, and it starts to suck. The body's hurting in constant pain. And, if you're like me, you stay reasonably injury-free, but I've gotten injured a few times that I thought was going to end my career, and that's part of it. If you're lifting seriously, you're going to get injured at some point, and it could be something as annoying as a pulled muscle, like a hamstring, which can derail your training because it's aggravating, things like that. You work around those issues, and then on game day, you're ready, and you're amped, and you get the platform, you get your lifts, and everybody's cheering because you're grinding that last lift out, and you might get it, you might not. When they do, the crowd explodes, and for me, it's for that small period of time, everybody's singing my praises, and everybody's telling me how great and awesome I am, and it usually gets televised. So if people are watching it on the internet, like live streaming, that kind of thing, and it can be kind of a big deal, and you feel a little bit like a celebrity. You might even get interviewed by one of the like Iron Rebel afterwards, and that makes me feel special. And then after all that, you go home and you're kind of like me, sitting in my garage contemplating, well, man, I did all that, now what? And it can kind of take me to a really dark place, really dark. You get depressed, and it's almost like your body's recovering because you're so amped up and you work so hard and you put everything into those 3 lifts on game day, 3 attempts, 3 different lifts, maxing out. Your body's wrecked, your immune system's tanked, you're just thoroughly exhausted, and now on top of that, you're suffering this weird depression. It is super easy to go to a very dark place, especially if you're like me and you suffer from clinical depression already. And that's something that can be really, really hard to pull out of, and it's also super hard to talk about because everybody's like, what do you have to be depressed about? You literally had the best meet of your life at the age of 49 and you're still making gains. Like, I didn't have the best meet of my life based on my age. I had the best meet of my life, period. Like, it was a higher total than I'd ever had before, and I'm getting older, and it's just like, that's awesome. But then I was, I started thinking, like, God, everything I had to do to get that, it really drained me. It kicked my butt. And now I'm in that weird phase where I'm kind of farting around, and I have a competition off. It's in October. I'm looking at it, but I'm farting around right now, and like, what do I do with myself? And I went into a depression, and it was very hard to get out of. And the reason I'm talking about it is because if you're a power lifter, or you just had a competition, or you hit a milestone and you're suffering from depression, and you wonder if you're crazy, is there something wrong with me? No, it's common. This is something we go through, man. You put anything that you pour your soul into, that kind of effort, and once you get that achievement and it's over, that can be very hard to deal with. How do you get yourself out of that funk? Well, I'm here to tell you, the community is what saved my life. The family, all that, giving back. In times when I don't know what I'm doing with myself, I focus on other people that are struggling, and that just gets me right out of the funk. You know what I mean? Something about giving to others. I don't know. Being of service to others is like the highest calling in life. There is no higher calling. You see all these people, they do these seminars where they're like, get rich quick, and if you're not making $1 million, you're not doing it, and whatever. They're focused on the wrong things because none of that brings you joy like being of service to others. Something simple like volunteering at a soup kitchen. You know what I mean? Just doing something for other people without any expectations for yourself can bring you so much joy, and that is often the solution to a lot of problems that we might get stuck in. So that's when I kind of start giving back, and it changes my perspective, and it makes me extremely I have extreme gratitude because a lot of the people I work with, I am so far advanced, and I am so far above most people that just working with other people gives that, everybody it just kind of brings me out of it, and it reminds me, like, yeah, you know what, you've done well for yourself, you've come far, and this is what you're supposed to be doing. It's supposed to be giving back now. Hey, who's there? I'm filming a video. You want to come say hi?
What's up? It's me, Aiden from.
Yeah, everybody knows who you are. All right, my son has a YouTube channel. It's MB Extreme, and they focus on things like Beyblade, Gundam, Warhammer, chickens. You guys like my chickens?
Yeah, well,
Check it out. Check him out. I'll leave a link to his channel in my description. I gotta go to work, and this video is getting really long.
Yeah, I know.
But I will see you guys on the battlefield. Love y'all.